Alright, well, lots has changed in life since I last made a video. I've only made a couple, but life's changed a lot. I've moved. I have kind of gone back to an old life to help my mental health and my well-being. And one of the big things that I've started is my beautiful garden. Mind the junkyard in the back. This, where the puppies are fighting, playing, is also going to be a garden. This is my lovely potato patch. And where the garden's at, I'm going to be planting a giant garden. Tomatoes and peas and beans and carrots and onions and everything else. I'm kind of making these kind of to document, same as the last videos I made about cleaning my room. Those were over a year ago. I was living in a different state. I was in a different place mentally. I have changed a lot of things about my life in the last year, mainly where I was working, where I was living. My living situation was actually fantastic. I lived with some family, and they were doing what they could to help me, but things weren't improving. I think my work was really taking life out of me, and I missed home. I missed home all the time, and so I moved home. 32, living with my parents. I guess that's really common nowadays. Didn't ever think that's where I'd be at 32. I don't think that's where most people think they'll be at 32, but mentally it's what I needed was to come home. And so I came home and decided to change a whole lot. I've still been going through a lot of medical things. But really, I think seeing the doctor was making things worse, because I was going to the doctor a couple times a month, it seemed like. On and off antidepressants, on and off all sorts of things. And I, with direction from a doctor, backed off of all of my medication because they seemed to be making things worse. Reestablished care with an old doctor, 2 old doctors actually, and we're taking things slow as far as medical stuff goes. But let me see if I can turn the camera around and I'll give you a better view. So like I said, I'm living with my parents, and we live on half an acre. And so I have this, which is full of weeds, but I'm working on it. You'll see this side is a lot less weedy. I have a more permanent cover for it coming. But I have cabbages and broccoli and red cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli rabe. This side is actually doing pretty well. I think it's probably going to be too warm where I'm at. I've gardened before. And by garden I mean I grew successfully 1 tomato plant. This side is like very sad. You'll see that down here there's actually there's one little red cabbage that's doing sad. But there was another thing here and another thing right there, and they've just completely died. So, mind Mr. Rooster in the background. You'll see we have a squirrel that's planting sunflowers all over our backyard. I gotta get them out. There's another one up there. I need to get them out of there. You'll notice up there, that's a mess. So this bed used to be our strawberry patch when I was a kid. It's 4 by 20. And we used to grow our strawberries in there. It's been a really long time. This then became our compost pile, and we added to it kind of sporadically. The main thing that we added to it was chicken manure from our chickens, which I'll show you over here. So I've had chickens the last 7 years while I was living in a different state. I was in Texas. My dad took them over when I got them last. We have 2 roosters that are silkies. We've got this one here. We've got another one that's hiding back there with his girlfriend. That is a Rhode Island Red. We actually had 10 birds when I left 4 years ago. And sadly, 7 of them died. We think it was bird flu that wiped them out. They never got it tested. We did some things. We moved the coop. We cleaned everything really well. And they've just been living, the 3 of them, in somewhat harmony. But when I moved home in September, actually, of last year, 2023. September 2023, I moved home. And things were pretty bad when I moved home. I was actually living in a family friend's house, which was a fine situation. But I wanted to come home. But there were some situations at my family home that I couldn't come home right away. So I didn't make it home until the week of Christmas. So for a few months, I stayed with a family friend. But I'm now home with my parents and really enjoying things. I am back at work at a childcare facility, which I'm sure a lot of people are like, somebody with mental health shouldn't be working in childcare. But really getting back to littles has helped immensely. So it's my life situation. But because we only had 3 chickens, I said, we're getting chickens. I'm back at home, we're getting more chickens. So my dad and I just built a chicken tractor, and we got 18 little chicks. We lost one, which 1 out of 18 is not terrible, but we did lose one. So we've got 3 breeds up here. We've got 5 Brahmas. I'm sad that I think 1 is a rooster. We're gonna have to figure out a rooster situation because we got 2 other breeds that are all hiding underneath. I'm gonna have to put them to bed. Don't focus on the wire. You can see there's some Easter eggers. So we have 6 Easter eggers. 6 Easter eggers and 6 blue lace red Wyandottes. And one of the blue lace red Wyandottes is a rooster. And then one of the Brahmas, which are my dad's favorite, they're light Brahmas or white Brahmas, heard both, is also a rooster, and that's the breed that we lost one of our hens, and that is both mine and my dad's favorite breed of chicken. They're just so sweet and so docile. And they're so big and fluffy, and I don't know, they just make me happy. I also really like Cochins. When I ordered these guys, the Brahmas are what I ordered. And then I said, we'll figure out a couple of other breeds when you get them. I've had the blue lace red Wyandottes before. They're definitely more flighty birds. but I think they're so pretty when they're full grown that I said I want those. And then they happen to have Easter eggs, and I was like, cool, we'll have some more Easter eggs. I've had those before too. I'm kind of kicking myself because now that I got them, I'm like, why didn't I get Jersey Giants? Because I also really liked the Jersey Giants. They produce big eggs. They produce lots of eggs in my experience, because I've had all of those breeds before. I loved the lavender Cochins. We had lavender Cochins. We had 3 of them, and they were just beautiful birds. And so calm. My Cochins have always been calm. I actually had buff Cochins the first time, I think 8 years ago, and then we had a raccoon get in and wipe out. I think at that point I had 18 birds, and I went from 18 to 6. And then the next year I got more and had those guys for years. And then I ordered more in 2020 when the thing that shall not be named happened. Yeah, ordered more in 2020, and yeah, because I got birds every year for 4 years. 2020 happened. I was moving. At that point I had 25 birds and didn't want to leave my dad to take care of that, because my dad said he wanted to keep the chickens. But didn't want to leave all of that to my dad. That was just overwhelming for my parents. So I sold, or gave away, actually gave them away. I should have sold them, but I just gave them away. I gave away 15 of my birds. Most of them were my older birds. I kept 3 of the older birds, and then 7 younger birds, pullets. And yeah, had the bird flu come in and wipe out 10 of them, or 7 of them, 7 of the 10. But these guys, I think, will be an awesome addition. Like I said, I've had all 3 breeds before. Easter eggers just produce pretty eggs. And this batch of Easter eggers, I have 6 of them. I'm pretty sure they're all female. Fingers crossed. They're so sweet and calm. I have one that's a little flighty, but the other 5, my niece will just go in and pick them up and carry them around and hug on them and love on them, and the dog's like running into the fence. Did have the puppies get to them. I had them in a temporary cage outside, and one of the puppies broke into it and went after them. We're working on training them to leave them alone. I don't know that we're going to be successful in that, but we're really trying. So it's this, their sweet Toby. And then this is his brother Ludo. You can see playing like crazy dogs. We got the puppies right when I ordered the chicks. And I don't know, we'll see what happens. I'd like to free range my chickens. But I don't know that that's going to be possible. Yeah, so like I said, big backyard. I'm really excited. I actually have 3 apple trees. There's 3 apple trees back here. My parents planted decades ago. And all of them we actually thought were dead, but over the years we've had the chickens in like each area. So I'll show you this way. Oh, there's our 3 birds. Our 3 older birds. These 3 are all 4 years old. We have 2 roosters and 1 hen. I actually worried when my dad first lost the other 7, that she would get beat up. But she is an independent woman. Takes care of herself. She beats up on both the boys, which is good. But this apple tree, I don't think you can see it from here. The main stem of it actually completely died, like decades ago. So it actually died, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. He was a teenager, I think. He was 14 maybe, so maybe like 17, 18 years ago. Completely died. Thought that tree was gone. Had a little stem come up from the base of it, which is usually not a good sign. But the stem turned out to be the same apples that were the original tree, which is awesome. But we thought we were losing it again when we moved the chickens there. And I think it's the chicken manure. It has come back to life and it'll fruit for the second time. Put on a ton of blossoms. We did get like a freak freeze and lost the outer blossoms, but the blossoms on the inside actually look great. And then this tree back here, this is actually where my chicken coop was years and years ago. Like years and years ago. The first year I had chickens. And this tree did the same thing. I'll show you. We were actually pulling it out. And this half of it, don't mind that still has chicken stuff. We had said it was dead and then we're getting ready to pull it out. So this whole half of it is completely dead. Completely dead. But then it threw a shoot up down there. And this whole thing is beautiful. It's been beautiful the last couple years. We've gotten apples off of it 2 years in a row. I don't know. It was just perfect. And then we have this guy. That same thing. We were talking about pulling this out, and all of a sudden this year we have an apple bush. I don't know. I have no idea. Not going to argue with the gods about the apples. But yeah, I guess if you have apple trees that you think are dying, move your chicken coop there. And it'll go great. But anyways, to the garden. I started this garden in my head when I decided I was moving home last July. I decided in July that I was moving home. And I got online in July and ordered I think $75 in seeds, $77 in seeds, something like that. And called my mom and said I'm coming home. Didn't know where I was going to stay because at that point there was no space at my family home. Just because of family situations with my siblings. Ludo, no. Yeah, but I said I'm coming home. And my mom said, cool. I was in a really bad mental space. I decided in May that I was not going to make it to my next birthday. And so 1 year ago, 1 year ago, I decided I wasn't going to make it to my 32nd birthday. And was seeing a therapist and a psychologist and on antidepressants and anti-anxiety, and I quit my job and found a different job. It wasn't working and was out of work for almost 9 months. I had a job, but I was giving them very limited availability. And was just not doing well. So I stopped paying all my bills in May 1 year ago. Now everything's in collections and I'm making barely more than minimum wage. And in July I decided I'm moving home. I'm planting a garden. And I'm planting a garden. I moved home. I'm planting a garden. I've planted part of it. my potatoes, my cabbage patch. I lovingly call it the cabbage. It's not perfect. I am sure I planted these too late. I don't know that I'm going to get anything from it. But look at that. Pretty little cauliflower. Oh no, this one's an actual cabbage. That cabbage is blown up. This one's cauliflower. Look at it. It's beautiful. I've got these two red cabbages. This one's really leggy, I think, but I'm hoping it'll be okay. I think it's gonna be too warm. Look at that. These probably 2 months ago. Temperature wise, I kept waiting for my last frost date, and then I started doing more research. I knew that cabbages, brassicas, were a cold weather crop, but in my mind I had to wait a little bit longer. And then once it finally came time for them to go on the ground, it wasn't ready. This box was not ready. I had to empty it out completely, turn it all over, because like I said, it was some really old compost, really old bird manure. The other thing was some wood chips from a tree that we had taken down 3 years ago that they chipped and just put in here to compost down on top of the compost. So half was literally just wood chips, and you can still see it's really heavy wood chipped. I don't know if the brassicas are gonna like that. I have no idea. But then this whole side was beautiful old compost. And so I took the two halves, dumped them onto a tarp, mixed it all together, and then refilled the box. And by the time I got that done, again, struggling with mental health and probably pure laziness, really. I'm kind of accepting the fact that I might be a little lazy, which is something I've never said about myself. I think realizing that is probably the first thing you need to do. But deciding that that's the case and working my way through that, on top of being diagnosed with ADHD and debilitating depression and anxiety. Maybe it's the depression and anxiety, I don't know. Yeah, I get these ideas in my head and I'm like, yeah, we're doing that. And then I realize how much work goes into it. And overheating. My doctor just told me that he thinks I have POTS. Which is just crazy to me. It's not something I know a lot about. Time to research. But realizing that every time my heart rate spikes, my ambitions just drop through the floor. Because once my heart rate gets going, it's like I lose my breath and I'm physically exhausted. They want to diagnose me with POTS and with chronic fatigue, and I don't know. Part of me is is it chronic fatigue or am I lazy? I don't know. But anyways, staying positive. So I planted this garden. It went in late. Do I think it's going to be 90 degrees in a month? This is not going to be ready 100%. But if nothing else, I can say that I beautiful, beautiful brassica leaves. And maybe a baby cabbage. Look at that. It's got a little head in there. Starting to form. I don't know. And then I'm really excited this broccolini has exploded. And then I came out yesterday and it's just covered in holes. But so far it looks like the bugs are leaving everything else alone. It's just the broccoli rabe. Oh no, I keep saying broccolini. It's just the broccoli rabe. Like, even the traditional broccoli they've left alone, it is just the broccoli rabe. But I know people will plant something like that, something that attracts the pests, to like protect their other plants. Cause see, like, it's a broccoli, and they've left it alone, no bug damage. And then, not far from it, broccoli rabe, full of bug damage. Broccoli rabe, getting eaten alive. Most of my other broccoli is not doing well. But I think I didn't start fertilizing it soon enough. I had some old seed starter and old potting mix that I mixed together to start the seeds, and I think it just didn't have enough nutrients. And I waited too long to start fertilizing. Fertilizing is not something I've ever done. I've planted two gardens before this. The first one just completely died. I went out of town and didn't have anybody water it, and I watered it really well before I left and said it'll be fine. And it was 110 degrees here the entire time I was gone. Came back and everything was dead. And then the second time was actually the very first year that I put this in, which was 7 years ago. So this wrought iron fencing was all this yellow color that I spray painted like various colors. So like that was a green. That one back there, it looks gray right now, but it was purple. That one I painted white. The ones that are still yellow, I painted white, and then the white has just come off and they're back to the yellow that they were when I was a child. And anyways, my dad and I fabricated this. You can see I never actually finished it. So like on the back there, we took 2x4s and like filled in right there. And oh, I can show you on here. This is closer. So we just took and split 2x4s right here, and we filled in like the gaps. Never even finished it. So the puppies get in. That side back there we've fenced off, but like right here, big opening. Never finished it. Back there, big opening. So, but anyways, well, the first year I put this in, I planted. What did I plant? I planted tomatoes along this. Let me see. I'll come back over here. So I planted, I think, 4 tomatoes in that back corner right there. And then I planted pole beans right here that I used an old crib as a trellis for them. And then I planted, I think, 2 pumpkins, 2 watermelons, 2 zucchini, and I think 2 cantaloupe or something like that. It was not very much. I did not plant very much. And the pumpkin plants exploded. I think I got like 3 flowers on them. I'm sure it was a nutrient thing because I did almost nothing to the ground. And where I live in the high desert, number 1. I did no research into like timing of when things should go in the ground and like temperatures and all of that. I waited way too long to plant anything, so it was too hot for everything. My squash plants actually looked really well. I guess I watered enough that they looked really well. I got a few blossoms on my pumpkin. I was really excited. I wanted a pumpkin patch for my niece and nephew. I don't know. Or my niece and nephew? I can't even remember. It was so long ago. I can't remember who all was around back then. I think probably my niece and nephew that are like almost adults now. Not almost adults. One of them's almost an adult. The other one's 16. But, yeah, anyways. I wanted a pumpkin patch for them because they were supposed to come up that October. And was so excited that I got some blossoms, and then the plants just died. Now I knew nothing about gardening at this point. It was the first time I ever planted a garden, or second time. It was my second time. First time I killed everything. Just plants just died. I have no idea what happened. I'm assuming some form of bug got to them. Because they died from like the base out, and so I'm assuming that's what happened. It took a couple of days, but it was like the base died and then everything else just puttered out. I got 2 tomatoes off of 1 tomato plant. That was it. But this year, done a ton of research. I'm gonna plant a garden.